In the year 1863, the rolling hills of Pennsylvania bore witness to one of the most brutal and decisive battles of the American Civil War, the Battle of Gettysburg. For 3 days, Union and Confederate forces clashed in a fight that would become the bloodiest battle of the war, leaving over 50,000 men dead, wounded, or missing. The fields were soaked with blood, and the air was thick with the cries of the dying. When the smoke finally cleared, the land was littered with the bodies of the fallen, hastily buried in shallow graves or left where they had fallen. Years passed, and the scars of war began to fade from the landscape. The grass grew over the trenches, and the trees once again provided shade. But the ground held on to its dark history, a resting place for countless soldiers who had never received proper burials. In 1905, a wealthy businessman named Jonathan Harper purchased a large tract of land near Gettysburg. The area had a dark reputation, but Harper was drawn to its beauty and history. He planned to build a grand estate for his family, a symbol of their success and new beginnings. Construction began in the spring, and by the end of the year, a magnificent mansion stood atop the hill where so many had died. The Harper family moved in with high hopes, unaware of the land's dark past. But from the moment they set foot in the house, something felt off. The air was heavy, and a cold, unsettling presence seemed to linger in every room. It wasn't long before strange things began to happen. At night, the sounds of footsteps echoed through the halls, doors creaked open on their own, and whispers drifted through the air like a chilling breeze. The Harper children spoke of seeing shadowy figures at the edge of their vision, and Mrs. Harper often woke to find her bed sheets pulled back as if someone had been watching her sleep. As the weeks went by, the family's health began to decline. The children were constantly sick with fevers and chills, while Mr. and Mrs. Harper suffered from debilitating headaches and nightmares. The once happy family was now living in fear, plagued by a sense of dread that seemed to seep from the very walls of the house. One evening, after a particularly harrowing night filled with strange noises and ghostly apparitions, Mr. Harper decided to investigate the property's history. He spent days poring over old records and talking to locals, piecing together the horrifying truth: their home had been built on the site of a mass grave from the Battle of Gettysburg. The realization struck him like a blow. The restless spirits of the soldiers who had died on that land were trapped, unable to find peace. They were angry, and they wanted the living to leave. Desperate to save his family, Mr. Harper called upon a local priest to bless the house and drive out the spirits. But when the priest arrived, he immediately sensed the overwhelming presence of the dead. The house was filled with too many spirits, all crying out for justice and peace. The priest performed the rituals, but it was clear that the power of the spirits was too great to overcome. "Mr. Harper," the priest said gravely, "this land is cursed by the blood that was spilled here. The dead will not rest as long as this house stands. You must leave, for the sake of your family." With heavy hearts, the Harper family packed their belongings and left the mansion they had hoped would be their forever home. As they drove away, the house loomed behind them, its windows dark and empty, like the eyes of the dead watching them go. The property remained vacant for years, a blight on the landscape. No one dared to purchase it, and stories of the haunting spread through the town. Eventually, the land was sold to the government, and it was decided that the only way to bring peace to the restless spirits was to give them the respect they deserved. The mansion was torn down, and in its place, a solemn graveyard was established. The bodies of the soldiers were exhumed from their shallow graves and reburied with proper rites, each one honored for their sacrifice. A memorial was erected, a testament to the lives lost and a reminder of the horrors of war. The land was finally at peace, the spirits of the fallen soldiers no longer bound to the earth by anger and sorrow. The graveyard became a place of quiet reflection, where the living could pay their respects and the dead could rest in eternal peace. And so, the whispers of the fallen faded into silence, and the land where so many had died became a place of remembrance, hallowed ground where the past was finally laid to rest.